Hello everybody and welcome to the YouTube channel, The Big Black American Secret. And the secret is, you are an Aboriginal American. You are the only true American. And the goal of this channel is to build an unstoppable army of knowledgeable, black, melanated people in America and around the world that understand we as melanated people have one enemy worldwide. And that enemy is the system of racism, white supremacy. Our mission through education is to replace this evil system with a system of freedom, justice, and equality as laid out by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. We will need your help in building this knowledgeable army because you are part of this army. You can help by subscribing to this channel, by donating to this cause through Cash App or PayPal, and by sharing the videos you watch here and any knowledge that was shared. In doing so, together, we can help fertilize the mentally enslaved colonized minds of black melanated people worldwide, creating the perfect mental condition for our children to grow up in a better, more balanced world. Yesterday, what we witnessed at the United States Capitol building was a spectacle. But unless you understand this system of racism, white supremacy, you won't fully understand what you saw. And I'm here to break down what you saw or give you a different perspective. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so again, yesterday was a fiasco. And it was predicted. I mean, these people weren't shy about what they was going to do if Trump wasn't reelected or they didn't find those votes. You understand what I'm saying? But what I want to point out to you is, just like I mentioned earlier, you are the only true American. Your identity was viciously stolen. There are two Americas. There is the landmass of America that you own. That's the true America. And then there is the other America, is the corporation, the business that operates on this soil. It's a foreign corporation operating on this soil. And I'm going to flat out tell you, it's an illegal corporation, because when they came here and started doing what they did, they didn't have our permission to do it as Aboriginal people. They negotiated with foreigners. You understand what I'm saying? And any treaties that they created, for one, they not only did not adhere to the treaties, they made treaties with the wrong people. I'm going to just say it like that. You feel what I'm saying? Because knowing what I know and what you will learn if you so choose to go down this path is that your ancestors and mine owned and occupied this landmass from the beginning of time. We come from the soil and dirt, water, air of this landmass. We are not West African slaves. This landmass produced you and I, melanated Aboriginal Americans. Okay? Now, what we saw yesterday was clear and flat out, in your face, a upfront and close personal example of these two Americas. You saw how the United States government responds to black protesters. During the summer last year, during the Black Lives Matter protests, that Capitol building was armed heavily with military force soldiers. I'm going to give you a picture of it, so just to refresh your memory as to what you may or may not have seen last year. And then I'll show you a picture of the security force that was there yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. And this is a picture, Black Lives Matter versus Capitol protests. This was the police response during the Black Lives Matter. You see this? Military presence. Okay? Now, here is the renter cops yesterday. Regular, small amount of police presence when you have white protesters. Okay? Now, that's just a small example of what we have been dealing with on this landmass since 1492, when Christopher Columbus started enslaving our people in the West Indies. Okay? Now, again, when you first look at what happened yesterday and what's been going on, you see basically white people upset that their president is no longer going to be president. Right up first, like the very first glance you see is that's what you see, and that's what the white news organs are going to start to blast out to people. Oh, these are just simply Americans who feel like the vote was correct, the numbers weren't counted. Oh, these people have a right to be mad and to do what they did. You will see very little arrest. They will not consider these illegal acts, anything like that. You saw the police response. I think one person got hurt, shot, maybe killed. I don't think one person. And this person actually had a military background, a young lady, from what I understand so far. But she was a part of the protest. She was part of the upheaval. Now, had these been black folks storming the Capitol, I guarantee you, they'd have had Gatling guns out there, and they would have mowed all of them down. You feel what I'm saying? And if this shit wasn't true, it'd be laughable. But it's true, so I can't laugh. You understand what I'm saying? But I do want you to understand what you are witnessing. I do not want you to miscategorize this. Now, Dr. Francis Cress Welson's video is going to be in the description of this video. So please watch it after you watch this. Because until every black person understands what racism, white supremacy, or as Neely Fuller says, white supremacy, racism, same thing. Everything you think you know about everything you think you know, you will only confuse you. And he is exactly right. You understand what I'm saying? What we have been witnessing throughout our time being even introduced to these people from 1492 until now is, with white people, you got two groups of white people. You have blatant racist, and then you have undercover racist. You almost could look at it as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, if that'll help you understand what I'm trying to say. See, the Republican Party flat out don't give a shit about black people and their situation. The Democrats seem to care a little bit about what's going on with black people. So we think, or so we're made to think. They really do not give a shit about you. They're just concerned about your vote. Please understand this. It's only your vote that they want, because once they get your vote, they gives you nothing in return. Now, do not be fooled. Both of these groups are racist as hell. But one group is undercover racist. Let's call those folks the Democrats. The Republicans, blatant, in-your-face racist. Now, I'm just putting a label on it, Republican Democrats. I'm just using that as some, But anyway, we could also call them, I don't know, moderates or liberals. Anyway, you got the flat-out people who most of them seem to be Trump supporters, who are flat-out, in-your-face racist. You understand what I'm saying? And the other ones who are not flat out in your face. Both are very dangerous. Both are very dangerous. Under the Democratic leadership, you had the 3-strike laws that were made. Bill Clinton and Joe Biden's crime bill. You understand what I'm saying? They built all these other prisons, and more prisons. They built up the prison industrial complex. Under the Republican Party, you get the same thing. But because they're not looking for your vote, they're not gonna say much to you. So growing up the way I grew up, poor in the projects, we were always made to believe, the Republicans is the way you go, because they'll sign off on social projects like food stamps and stuff like this. And all the while growing up, they made us believe that white people Well, black people was the ones who were on food stamps the most when it was white people the whole time. But they put black face on it for whatever reason. I forget why. It escapes me right now. But to this day, the largest recipients of food stamps and public assistance is white people. It's crazy how that works out. But getting back to my point, black people, we can't be fooled by this shenanigans that's going on. These things do not concern us, for one. These are white people fighting white people. These are white people issues and situations. Got nothing to do with us. So I did see probably one or two clown ass black people down at these riots and shit, and I'm surprised they didn't get killed. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, long story short, it's up to each one of us to get educated on the system of racism, white supremacy. It's up to each one of us after we learn the system of racism, white supremacy, that we do everything in our power to end the system of racism, white supremacy, and end it and replace it with the system of freedom, justice, and equality. And we're going to do this through education. I don't believe right now we need brute force. Although I'm all for 100% down with black people arming themselves and being ready for whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Because, again, this continent belongs to you and I. This is home for us. Reparations will only slightly, very small, partially pay for maybe some stolen labor. But you can't pay us for our land. You can't pay us for our dignity. You understand what I'm saying? So, getting back to the point, I do not want you to be fooled, black folks, to think that this was some once in a lifetime thing, that these white people was just upset about Trump not being elected to office. On surface, that's what it was. But no, what you're seeing here is a clash between undercover racists and flat out in your face racists. Donald Trump represents in your face racism. Our nation couldn't handle this kind of blatant racism. Like I've been telling y'all, racism operates best in the shadows, when it's hidden, without light on it. You understand what I'm saying? This is the nation's attempt to put racism back in the dark, undercover, hidden. It's still going to exist, but it's still going to be hidden because that's its most powerful form. No matter who's in the office, Biden or Trump, we still have racism at the helm of this country. And this is what we must eliminate. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, this is basically racist white people jockeying for position. Yeah, who's going to be running the country? I'm saying, again, you're still going to have racism running the country. But it's either going to be covert or out flat in your face, blatant. Obviously, we've had 4 years of that, and you see how it brings out these monsters. You understand what I'm saying? These very racist monsters. And it's so blatant that not even racist white people can stomach it. It speaks too much to their inner nature. Now, am I saying every white person is like this or every white person is racist? No. Because that would be stereotyping. But what I am saying is this. In the system of racism, white supremacy, white people have certain privileges that not everybody has. And they're not willing to give up those privileges. I don't give a damn how liberal they are. Not one white person will replace their life for yours. Ask them. If they're honest, they're going to be honest, and they'll tell you, no, I don't want to replace my life with a black person's life, because they know how fucked up it has been for us because of them. You see what I'm saying? So no, we all are affected by racism, white supremacy, and most people will not give up their privilege. Don't give a damn how much they think they ain't racist. They ain't fitting to give up their privilege. You understand what I'm saying? So, again, I hope you understand. This is white people fighting, racist white people fighting to put racism back in the dark. They ain't trying to get rid of the shit. No. They just trying to quiet it down so that it don't continue to scare black people and white people alike. Because you got a lot of mentally enslaved black people who are uncomfortable about racism, and they need it to be quieted down. Obviously, they comfortable living under subjection, but they would prefer their racism quiet. They don't mind it being around. You know, they good niggas. You know, they good house niggas. They just want a massa who ain't gonna be calling them a nigga to their face. Oh, this massa can do all kind of heinous shit to them legally behind closed doors, but so long as it ain't blatant, and that's still fucked up because your children gonna be under the same subjection if we don't make the changes we need to make right now. It's up to each one of us to do what we got to do to not only learn this system of racism, white supremacy, and to learn how to maneuver within it. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of minds to touch. And your mission is to, after this video, go pop some popcorn, bring your children, and watch Dr. Francis Cress Welson's video. You understand what I'm saying? Because we have to know what's going on. We need to know what's going on. We can no longer allow ourselves to be ignorant. Because this violence you see right here, it ain't over. These racist white people with guns will eventually get to a point where they'll turn them on black people. Because that's who the ultimate goal is. Whether you're a quiet racist or an outright in-your-face racist, you have one enemy. And I'm talking to racist people. Black people are your enemy. Black people are your enemy. And if you had your way, you would get rid of them, as many of them as possible, especially the ones who you figure ain't benefiting you directly. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so watch the video, get up to speed on racism, white supremacy. This puts you hopefully on the team so we can eliminate this evil system. Because this system has been fucking you up every day of your life. Now, you might be saying, well, yeah, I understand about racism. There's some racist people in the world, but not everybody racist, you know. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it's deeper than you just thinking you know. Watch the damn video and find the fuck out for sure. Don't be so bullheaded thinking you know every goddamn thing. Get educated on this. Hour and 23 minutes. That video is not long at all. You watch boring ass, stupid ass, comical movies that's longer than that. You know what I'm saying? But this ain't about you. It's about your children and your grandchildren who are going to be here after you leave. So please, wake the fuck up. Get educated on this thing, because it's been tearing you a new ass ever since you was born. You just don't know it. And even you black folks who go along to get along, you house Negroes, y'all are suffering, but you eating a little better than maybe the other black people. But the minute racism, white supremacy is done with your ass, it's gonna get rid of you too. Because it don't want you around, it don't like you. Remember, they stealing your shit. This your land, this your identity. You are the only true American. What they need you around for? Once you used up it, they have no use for you. You a broken tool. They're gonna throw your ass away or kill you. You understand what I'm saying? So you have, your only ally is me and your other brothers and sisters. But because of the system of racism, white supremacy, your mind is scrambled. Because of the religious system, your mind is scrambled. Because of the public education system, your mind is scrambled. Because of news organs, your mind is scrambled. You don't even know what you're looking at. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm going to beat the dead horse. So I ain't the kind of person, well, I ain't finna keep going over this. No, I'm going to go over this 100 billion times. This is my favorite pastime, educating my people. You know, I'm a steamroller when it comes to this shit. You know, I'll just keep repeating shit until I just, I'm going to go to my grave repeating shit, because that's how you learn, through repetition. You understand? Now, for the people who are unfamiliar with this channel, ain't never seen me before, I'm going to go over the fact that you are the only true American. I'm going to give you a little bit of proof based on Google searches. But it's up to you to dig deeper for yourself. I learned out about my indigenous heritage after a perfect stranger put a bug in my ear. And right now I'm a perfect stranger to you, and I'm putting a bug in your ear. You see what I'm saying? This is how this works. Is everybody going to get turned on to this information right off in the first? No. Anything that I'm telling you right now is so foreign that you can't help but to not be resistant to it. First, because I flat out just told you, you ain't who the fuck you think you is. Because you was always told through the history books, through public education, through watching that fucked up movie called Roots back in the early 80s, I think it was, late 70s, early 80s, that we are West African slaves. Not only did Haley, the black guy who wrote the book, not only did he steal that story from a white guy, he was sued for it. You see what I'm saying? He plagiarized it, you know? And the reason, and also too, because of all kind of things. But anyway, even DNA, they use made up science like DNA. Now DNA is not something. DNA is real. You understand what I'm saying? DNA from one live person to another live person, you can prove paternity. But DNA from some old bones, you can't match that with a living person. As a matter of fact, on the DNA or 21andMe, it'll say that for entertainment purposes only. You cannot use that information in court as legal documents. It's not bound by law. You see what I'm saying? Just like not genetics, but eugenics. With, first there was the Darwin theory of evolution, and then based on that they got into scientific racism with eugenics. That's when they started to say that black people are inferior based on science, but that was bullshit. That was scientific racism. Genetics, again, they're using genetics to make you think certain things, to try to say that the out of Africa theory has merit, but it doesn't. It's scientific racism. So what do I mean the out of Africa theory is flawed? What am I saying? Well, the out of Africa theory says that all black people, melanated people, migrated out of Africa millions of years ago. Here's the thing. They found a 2.8 million year old jawbone of a Homo sapien in Ethiopia, Africa, years ago. So therefore, if that's the oldest known human bone found, then therefore all black humans must have come from Africa, right? That makes perfect logical sense if you think about it. But here's where it's flawed. They do not allow digging down that deep in America or Europe or Asia. You see what I'm saying? Because if they did, you would find the same thing you found in Africa. Because on this planet, every continent sprouted life at and about the same time. Plant life and then mammal life. That ground, that air, that salt, that geographical location created mammals. From cats and dogs to squirrels and frogs to humans. You feel what I'm saying? That's why we all look different. We all got different phenotypes. The continent of Africa created Aboriginal Africans. The continent of Australia, Aboriginal Australians. Millions of years ago. Who knows how long ago? And it don't matter. The continent of America produced Aboriginal Americans. Okay? Continent of Europe and all of its islands produced Aboriginal black Europeans. All of us are melanated black peoples because of the sun. The sun gives us strength in vitamins such as vitamin D. The sun also kills people with albinism, gives them skin cancer. So therefore, yes, the oldest humans are you and I, our ancestors, melanated people, because the sun would have killed anything less. And it has. Okay? All life came from black. White people are just they're just black people with albinism. Same for the Asian people. Now, again, I'm going to prove to you right now with a Google search and a little bit more information that you are an Aboriginal American and you've been lied to your whole existence. I'm also going to prove to you that the transatlantic slave trade was a cover story to misdirect you and to keep you from not focusing on who you really are. Okay? Now, we'll start off simple. Here you have a 1 cent copper penny. You probably can find one around your house. And it damn near perfectly matches the color of my skin. I'm copper colored. Okay? Now, on the screen, of course, I've got the definition picked up on the screen. When Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, he described the people he saw. The people with him described the people he saw. The explorers who came before him and after him described the people of the Americas. So much so that hundreds of years later, they put it in a dictionary. That dictionary definition from the year 1828 is right here on the screen. I'm going to turn this around. American, a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals, that means the first peoples, or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. That last sentence is real important. I want you to log that in the back of your brain. Okay? Now, the Indians in our history book, that's a Mongolian breed of Asian that come across the Bering Straits about 12,000 years ago. That's what paleontologists, leading paleontologists have said. Google Clovis first theory, if you're curious about that. Those are the Mongolian breed of Asian that come across the Bering Straits. Now, those Indians are Eskimos. It's all they ever have been. They are not they didn't come from the dirt of this continent. And the paleontologists say they traveled across the landmass called the Bering Straits. You know, and two, for a little bit more proof about them being Eskimos, look on your 2020 census. In the section where it says American, it also in here it says Eskimo. It categorizes. I'll give you an example. It says American Indian or Alaskan Native. Here's some examples. It says Navajo Nation, Blackfoot tribe, which my people on my granddaddy's side were Blackfoot Indians, and on my grandmother's side were Sioux Indians, and they're from Arkansas. I didn't know this growing up. I just learned about this about a year or so ago. So you need to talk to your people as well. But don't come at them straight on, because us knowing our identity, us saying that we were Indian or Aboriginal, peoples, was a death sentence. Google or look up the Racial Integrity Act in the 1920s. But anyway, Mayan, Aztec native village of Barrow, Eskimo community. Eskimo community. So the Indians in our history book have been and always was a Mongolian breed of Asian that come across the Bering Strait. These folks are Eskimos. When the Europeans came here, they saw the Eskimos. They saw it was a small group of them. And they said, you know what, we can use this. We're going to tell people that those Eskimos was here first. They was the nation's first peoples. If we ever decide to, when we get ready to steal their identity, we can kill them or put them in concentration camps, reservations. These Aboriginal, melanated black people, copper-colored people, but that's here by the millions, we're going to say that those people we brought here as West African slaves. Because you and I have all heard the story. They said that they tried to enslave the Indians. They couldn't take the hot heat, and they run away, and they blend in with the environment, or couldn't be found. They knew the terrain very well. So it was too much of a headache. They said, fuck it, we're going to go get some West African slaves. Indians was fighting back too hard and running away. Ain't that the story you heard? Sure the fuck is. Because that's the story I heard. You see what I'm saying? That's what they teach us in these fucking history books. But that ain't what took place. It's not what took place. The transatlantic slave trade was supposedly started in 1619 in Jamestown, when those first 20-odd Africans came to shore on that boat. But here's what they don't tell you in the history books. Those 20-odd Africans weren't African. Those black people were pirated off a Spanish ship in the Caribbean island. The Spanish enslaved Indians. Christopher Columbus started enslaving Indians in 1492. They pirated those Indians off of that. Those Indians off of that ship, brought them to the coast, Jamestown, and when they landed, West African slaves, right? Which tells you what? Those people was melanated. So the Indians were melanated black people. Now, what's the proof that these people were Indian? Well, again, they were pirated off a Spanish ship. That's a Google search. You can Google it. And these people had already been baptized. They had Spanish names, at least 11 of them. Proof that the Spanish had already enslaved them. You understand what I'm saying? How twisted our educational system has done to us to make us think we are other than ourselves. This is very serious, people. Your identity has been viciously stolen. Viciously stolen. And it's going to take a whole bunch of us getting on page and on task with this to make changes here on this continent and then throughout the world. You understand what I'm saying? So, getting back to the transatlantic slave trade. A person who I didn't know put a bug in my ear a couple of years ago, and he told me the transatlantic slave trade was told to us in reverse, and that I should research a fellow named Dane Calloway. 2 weeks later, Dane Calloway went across the screen on my computer, so I started watching some videos. I'm like, man, this dude make a lot of sense. This dude, his research is awesome. This dude digs into documents. This dude is an awesome researcher. Please subscribe to Dane Calloway's YouTube channel. Also subscribe to Kurimio Aha's YouTube channel, because he too is an awesome researcher. These folks dig into old documents from like the 1400s, the 1600s, the 1500s, and they get these stolen gems and bring them back out. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, so transatlantic slave trade told to us in reverse. They took our people from here to Sierra Leone, West Africa, to Europe, to Spain, and also flip-flopped us around here in the Americas. Why did they do that? Well, slavery is just that. You cannot lock up a person, enslave a person, and keep them in on their own land. I'll give you an example. We'll just use you for an example. Let's say somebody break in your house and get the best of you, lock you up and put you in your basement. And they got your spouse upstairs cooking and food, and they raping them every chance they get. Your kids in the garden, and they working, and they raping them every chance they get. If you just so happen to get loose, what you gonna do to that person? Male or female, what you gonna do to that person? You gonna forgive them? Hold them, hands with them? Have a come to Jesus meeting with them? No. Death. Death is the only suitable situation for that person. And that's what happened during slavery. When they first started enslaving our people, I'm talking chattel slavery, they tried to do that. Got their asses handed to them, tore their asses up. So they figured the best way to enslave a person, the most profitable thing to do, is to take that person, put them on a ship, and send them somewhere else. When a slave has been sent someplace else, they're more apt to be compliant, because that puts fear in them. Fear is how you're controlled. You understand? Now, so the slave trade. Okay, yeah. But anyway, here's the name of the real slave trade that took place on this continent. Because the transatlantic slave trade was simply a cover story. Okay? Okay. European colonies purchased indigenous people as slaves as part of the international indigenous American slave trade. International indigenous American slave trade, which lasted from the 15th century, which is the 1400s, until the 19th century, which is the 1800s. The name of the real slave trade that happened on this continent was the International Indigenous American Slave Trade. Not this fucked up transatlantic slave trade. See what I'm saying? And this from the 1400s to the 1800s. Started sooner, lasted longer, because the supposedly transatlantic slave trade started in 1619 and ended somewhere in the 1700s. You see what I'm saying? How we've been lied to? And you have to know that these was lies so that you could start to regain your real identity. Stop falling for this bullshit. That's why Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's video is so important. Our minds have been scrambled like a Rubik's Cube. Her video, that video has the ability to help unscramble your mind, to put things in perspective for you so that you could see with no blinders. You understand what I'm saying? That's the beauty and power of that one video. That's why it's in my description, waiting for you and your family. Okay? Now, international indigenous American slave trade. They enslaved your people. You didn't see any Mongolian Indians on those slave ships and no drawings and no pictures, did you? No. Only you and I, our ancestors. That's because that's the truth. That's what really the fuck happened. You understand what I'm saying? And I know you be thinking like, damn, this dude's saying all this shit. This can't be true. I mean, we all Africans. Yeah, that's what's been drilled in our heads. That's why it's so hard to believe. We also told that a lot of us are religion and we Christians. And we got that stuck in our head. When the truth is, we're spiritual people. Spiritual people are free people. Your most powerfulest form is to be spiritually free and to be physically free. That is your most powerful state of being. That's why you have been mentally enslaved and physically enslaved. Because you cannot be rivaled. You cannot be fucked with when you are spiritually free and physically free. So Daniel, what do I mean spiritual? What does that mean? Don't that mean religion? No. Hell no. Religion is what I call the legalization of spirituality. But what am I saying? Legalization. Well, okay, in the Muslim faith, in order to be a good Muslim, you must pray 5 times to the east or to the west. You see what I'm saying? And to be a Christian, to be saved, you got to pray to Jesus and he'll forward your message to God, and therefore you are now saved. Religion takes spiritual people and puts fear in them by way of telling them they need a savior. A savior. No. You are a spiritual being. There is nothing you need saving from. You are part of this universe. The whole golden trick is to get you in a state of fear so that you need a savior so you can be controlled. And it is my goal to help you on this journey. I know attacking your religion hurts your feelings. And I get that. But trust me what I'm trying to tell you. Your religion was not given to you for your benefit. Your religion was given to you to enslave you. Your ancestors started with your ancestors. When people say the Cherokee tribes, because the Cherokee wasn't the name of a tribe. No, Cherokee was a combination of a few different tribes that came together under the so-called, okay, let me back up a little bit. In order for the Europeans to enslave Indians, they had to first Christianize them. They call it Christianizing the heathens. Now, first off, if you was to be Christianized, that was your way out of being a full chattel slavery. You know, that's a slave for life. Chattel slave is a slave for life, because the first slavery was indentured servitude. That's a work contract for 7 to 10 years, 7 or 10 years. Okay, you work for whoever pays for that indenture. You work for them for 7 or 10 years, and then you let go. But if you were a bad Indian or an enemy to the white people as an Indian, they could enslave you for life, making you a chattel slave. So therefore, when they started to Christianize Indians, those Christianized Indians, and I'm going to say it, these Indians who fell for the fucking okie doke of religion, all religions, not just Christianity, but all religions, those religious Indians now become slave catchers, because now they got the mind of white people. In their mind, they no longer see their brothers and sisters as fellow Indians. They see them as heathens. other Indians who now need to be saved. You see how that works? These Indians was called friendly Indians or praying Indians. These were Indians who were friends of white people and who worked for white people to enslave other Indians. Now, when I say Indians, I want you to constantly remember in your mind, now that you know what you know, that the Indians were you and I. Not these Mongolians in these reservations, no. They were melanated black people like you and I. Okay? So, a praying Indian or friendly Indian were used as weapons against all the other Indians. That's the danger of religion, because the same shit is happening now. If you're a religious person, i.e. a Christian, then guess what you do? Everybody else is going to hell. Everybody else almost ain't even human to you. And that's dangerous. You don't see your own brothers and sisters as brothers and sisters anymore. But you know who you do see as your brother and sister in Christ? A good white Christian. You see how that works? The mind fuck is deep. But get unmind fucked right now. Watch that video by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Everything was weaponized against you. Religion, public schooling, your food, the music you listen to. Everything was weaponized against you. And we got to change this, man. Our kids are dependent on us to do what we got to do to fix this, to get rid of this system of racism, white supremacy, and replace it with freedom, justice, and equality. Get on this team. Get on this team. Support this channel financially. Share this channel. Subscribe. Matter of fact, you share it now. Subscribe, hit the bell, hit all, so you'll be notified when I make another video, go public. Because it ain't about me just putting this out to you. It's about you hearing what I'm saying, doing what the research you need to do. Talk to your oldest living relatives. And you, like I say earlier, you can't come at them harsh. You got to come at them sensible and respectable, because these people were traumatized. This information was a death sentence for our people. My relatives were killed because because of their identity. That's why I didn't know this growing up. My grandmama lost children. Murdered. Her children were murdered because they said that they was Indian. So she stopped. She didn't tell her younger children about none of this. You see what I'm saying? This is serious. So when you come at them in love and respect, like I did. I talked to my uncle. I said, "Hey, Unc, how you doing?" This was one of my younger uncles. And I asked him, how, I said, Mama's dead and Grandmama and Granddaddy dead, so I don't really have too many other people that I can talk to about our heritage. And, you still alive, and I want to talk to you. He said, "Okay, Uncle." He said, "Okay, nephew, I understand that. What would you like to know?" And so I said, "Well, just, basic stuff like, growing up. What was it like for you? Where did y'all live? And he told me Arkansas. And I said, "Well, how many brothers and sisters did you have?" And he said how many. He gave their names, and I wrote everything down. You know what I'm saying? And, he also mentioned that, and this is something he was proud of, about his first job, working. He said he was, like when he was 15, he was going to some like trade schools and learning a lot of different stuff. And he said the first refrigerator, I think it was refrigerator, telephone, or TV that he bought, that his parents owned, he bought, and he was real proud of that. I could tell just in his voice. Now, my uncle, he just died recently. He was having some health complications after I talked to him, and he went into a coma. And I'm getting a little sad just talking about it. But, you come at him easy, And so finally I asked him, I said, "Well, do you know anything about Indian heritage in our family?" And he says, "No, nephew, I personally don't know of any Indian heritage in our family." And I said, "Okay, thanks, Unc, And so I talked to my oldest living uncle, and the same thing. I say, "Hey, Unc, I want to ask you a couple of questions." And then finally I got to the question about Indian heritage. He said, "Yeah, absolutely, nephew. He said we got Indian in our bloodline. We also got German, Irish, and German." He said we like mixed up like mutts. I say, "Wow, that's incredible," because you got one uncle didn't know anything, and then another uncle who knew a whole lot, and then his sister right up under him, under the oldest one, she knew even more. She even named the reservation that they spent time on when they was real young. You understand what I'm saying? And so I was like, this is incredible. So much so that her mother's mother nickname was Black Buffalo Woman. Man, this shit just blew me away. It blew me away, you know? And so I was confused. I was like, well, Auntie, I'm confused. This was a different day I talked to her because, of course, when you get this information, it's kind of overwhelming and you take a few days to adjust, you know? And so I said, well, I'm kind of confused. Why is it that you and your older brother know all this information, but the younger brother, your younger brothers and sisters don't know anything, you know? So she told me. She said that her oldest brother, Leroy, was an excellent swimmer. He liked swimming so much he would bust the ice in the wintertime just so he could swim, you know? And so come to find out, he let slip to some white folks that he was Indian. They hung him, killed him, and threw him in the river. You understand? And, you know, so stuff like that. And there was another sibling who got harmed behind this information, you know. So what I'm saying is you don't come at them harsh and fast with it. Because they too have been traumatized, a lot of them. You know. So, people, it's time for us to get off the couch and to get in this game. Because this shit is real and it's serious. It's real and it's serious. You know. You know, I can't say it more stronger than that. You know. But anyway, getting back to the topic of this thing was I kind of went off on a little tangent. I do that sometimes. You know, it is what the fuck it is. But anyway, these people at the Capitol building yesterday, you saw a display of one group of racists at another group of racists to see who's going to control this country. Is it going to be blatant out front in your face racist, or behind the scenes fucking everybody up quietly racist? That's the Joe Biden group. You see what I'm saying? The Joe Biden group is going to be fucking up black people behind the scenes and undercover like they have been doing. If we do not wake up and put our foot on these motherfuckers' necks through education, we can make this happen and get enough people on the team understanding who we truly are. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, thank you for listening to me all of this time. Again, I just want to show y'all through the system of racism, white supremacy, what it is you actually witnessed at the Capitol building yesterday. Because it's more deeper than what you think it was. And I hope you caught some insight to what I was trying to say about you got two group of racists fighting right now for control. And it seems right now that the Donald Trump is lost. But from what I understand, he might have another one or two more tricks up his sleeve. I hope he don't. I hope he don't, because quite frankly, you know, we all a bit tired of this shit. You know, we want to get back to what we think is some sense of normalcy. But as you can tell from what I've been saying, because of the system of racism, white supremacy, black people have never been normal. We are simply prisoners of war, retitled slaves. War was declared on us when Christopher Columbus started enslaving us in 1492 in the Caribbean islands. The Roman Catholic Church, a few months later in 1493, Pope Francis VI, I believe, give the stamp of approval and made a declaration. He made a declaration that Spain had the right to enslave, to rape, to pillage, and to claim our resources here in the Americas. That was a declaration of war, people. A declaration of war by the Roman Catholic Church. That war was never undeclared. And that's why we get shot down in the street like dogs with fleas and rabies. That's why the cops shoot us and beat us like we animals. Because in their minds, we aren't human. They don't see us as humans. These are foreign invaders who are acting like foreign invaders. And we need to stop them the best way we can. And that's going to be through knowing who the fuck you is first. And then everything else is going to fall into place. You understand what I'm saying? This is some serious shit. And I hope you're a serious person. I hope you're a serious person. You take me up on this. So support this channel financially through PayPal and Cash App. The information will be in the description. Okay? On that note, I'm going to end this video. But get in this fight. Watch Dr. Francis Cress Welson's video. It's going to be in the description, please. All right. Be safe out there.